Hello and welcome to a brand new Unsourced Wall review. I'm here to talk about a 2023 comic book movie that I haven't seen until right now because unfortunately Netflix's password sharing kicked me out of their service and I just forgot that it was coming out. And that is Zoya Akhtar's The Archies, based on Archie Comics, Archie, Jughead, Betty and Veronica. More commonly right now known for the adaptation that was on the CW known as Riverdale, which I'll get into a little bit later, but this is more in line with the classic Archie comics and stories, and I have to say, it is quickly one of my favorite comic movies of last year. It is a breath of fresh air, as I mentioned, with regards to Riverdale. The one thing about that I hated, and it's the primary thing honestly, is that it felt very much like they were just taking names out of the hat, throwing them at the wall, and then just using generic soap opera supernatural plots and rinse and repeat. It didn't feel like they were using the characters, the property, the dynamics in ways that would be interesting for the format they were going for, which again is like this very twisty, turning soap opera show. It really felt like it didn't need to be Archie at all, and nothing about it screams Archie. And again, I'll get into a little bit more later on, but I really didn't like that has been the most well-known Archie product right now in the public forum. And coming at the Archies, however, I think hits the mark so much better. It is a movie musical. It has a lot of corn, a lot of cheese, but I think it captures a lot of the energy, the innocence, the charm, and the endearing qualities that make up those classic Archie comics and stories. And I think that a lot of it has to do with, just again, how simplistic it is. It is such a standard movie musical, but in the best of ways. The story is Veronica's father trying to basically tear down a public area, and Archie and the gang have to gang together to save the rec center, save, the youth center, that kind of thing. It's not a youth center, it's not a rec center, it's a public park, but same energy, golly gee willikers gumption to it, and I was just smiling the entire way through. It is so fun and so enthusiastic about itself. I just loved every second of it. However, it has come under fire, especially overseas, and I'm going to try to go through a little bit of those right now. I apologize because, I don't know much about it, and that is that apparently a lot of the actors in the movie, they are Nepo babies. They have a lot of family that are well known within the Indian filmmaking industry. And a lot of people found that their inclusion in this movie was based more on that rather than on merit. And again, the movie itself is very classic, very old school. It's very simple, it's very corny, very cheesy, it's all those things. And that even extends to the way the characters are and how the characters are written and portrayed, which I think all works together. It is exactly what you think Archie is. It captures that mood and that verb and that vibe. I'm not going to say it's like the most nuanced or depthy or kind of fully fleshed out a movie musical ever made either. So a lot of people kind of found the acting to be very one note, very undercooked. It's a perfect storm, I think, online for a lot of reviewers, especially those in India, a lot of Indian fans who found that it was, again, they're only cast for who they know or who their parents were and that kind of thing. I didn't quite get that. Again, I can't really judge. I don't really know what their family members are, but I feel like in the terms of Archie content and Archie stories, I think they did a perfect job. And the next thing, again, is that this is a standard movie musical. I mean, by standard, I mean it's a standard Western Hollywood movie musical. And this film is Indian production, Indian filmmaking, Bollywood. And this is not an example of that at all. So I can understand why that would feel underwhelming to fans of that. I love a lot of Bollywood movies as well. And this is not anywhere near those. But as a Western Hollywood musical, it is really good. I think that's, again, charming, sweet, and simple. And that's all it really needs to be. But moving ahead. In terms of the characters and the writing, I think that this has some of the better representations of those characters in a while. I think the best character that gets represented here is Reggie. He is the MVP, the highlight of this movie. I think Reggie gets a lot of flack in all kinds of Archie media. They kind of overplay that he is Archie's rival, so they make him like this insane sociopath sometimes. I think that the actor playing Reggie is amazing. They really flesh him out. They give him a multifaceted character arc. He is trying to find a purpose in life. He is that classic narcissistic, ego-driven prankster Reggie, yes, but he's trying to find, where he belongs in life. I think the movie's drive for him is honestly really, really hard hitting, and the actor does a great job both portraying like his more unsavory, aspects, but the more somber, the more grounded, the more humanistic qualities that Reggie has as well. And the next character that I think gets a lot of time to shine is Ethel. All right. They don't call her Big Ethel in this because she is the general same height of every other character. Now in the comics, they usually call her Big Ethel because she's, tall and lanky. And I want to talk about Riverdale in specific in regards to this because Riverdale is just awful when it came to Big Ethel because they really ruined her character in so many ways. And they were honestly, frankly, insulting. And I don't want to come off as a purist, but the way Riverdale did it was just so mind-bogglingly frustrating and dumb. I kind of need a tangent about this. What Riverdale did was, hey, let's make that a more literal nickname, but in the opposite direction. So she's called Big Ethel because everyone thinks she's fat, Okay, all right, that's one way to go about it, Riverdale. I mean, that's going to be like, don't call me Big Ethel, I'm just Ethel, don't judge me based on my weight. Okay, that's immoral, I guess. And then the show proceeds to never have her and Jughead, played by the teen heartthrob, one of the Sprouse twins. Is it Cole Sprouse? I don't know. Probably. Just has Cole Sprouse's Jughead hook up with, like, Betty. That's so weird because, like, Ethel is Jughead's love interest some of the time. So you both make Ethel, like, less in the realm of what you're using as the moral, less conventionally, like, stereotypically attractive, and then just not have her, at all hook up with her love interest. And instead have the love interest hook up with the ones that you're deeming as more conventionally, good looking. That is just so disgustingly insulting. So I just want to go on tangent with that because I love Big Ethel in this. I think they give her so much interesting things to do. And the biggest thing is that, and this is a galaxy brain move, the movie has her like flirt with becoming an objectivist. So as I mentioned, the kind of plot of the movie is that Veronica's father is trying to basically gentrify and take over the town and all the merchants and basically driving out Main Street out of business in the spirit of commerce and capitalism. And Ethel kind of gets swept up into that. She kind of becomes a objectivist spouting weirdo who's like very pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you gotta get yours kind of person. And it is wonderful to see because it's kind of thing like, okay, like this is such an insane plot to give a character like Ethel of all things, but then it also perfectly contrasts with like Jughead, because Jughead in this movie is very, very standard Jughead. Big Ethel has a huge crush on Jughead, and Jughead has a huge crush on food. Okay, cut and dry. I wish there was a little bit more to it than that, but that's what it is, and it's classic. Jughead is like in his very much his Moochie kind of era, where he is just like doing anything for food. He'll steal food, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a good parallel with Ethel becoming an activist, very individualized, and so Jughead is all about like communal sharing and as a kind of extension of wanting food and all that kind of stuff. And they butt heads, and I think that it's really interesting to see them butt heads. I think Ethel has this great scene where she tells off Jughead, even though, of course, Jughead doesn't take it that way. Like, he's very, very single-focused. But even then, I think that scene really works really well, and I do love their dynamic and just a little bit more of the friction that goes on between them. I thought that was really fun. Now, big elephant in the room, Archie, Betty, and Veronica, there is a tango dance in this writing because it was like one false step and it's all crumbling down, The big thing is, of course, that what I loved here is with Betty and Veronica, they made very clear that the love triangle is all of Archie's fault. Like, it's never like, oh, Betty and Veronica have to be pitted against each other. It's that Archie is a dog. He's a wannabe Casanova, a wannabe womanizer, and Betty and Veronica are really being done a disservice by this kind of idiot, I think that it does harken back to like earlier Archie comics where he is a bit of that moronic kind of guy who doesn't really think 2 steps ahead. He's very self-centered, and I think it's more interesting that the other shoe does drop and they're like, why are we even doing this? They walk the really fine line of not making anyone into like the villain of this love triangle or making anyone out too badly, but the brunt of the fault does fall on Archie, and I don't think they make him like unlikable. they just keep it as like this very kind of light, but also like it's his fault. And it's a great scene that Benny and Veronica share, and I think that's the best way to handle it, because at the end of the day, they're all friends, and having them come to conflict for something like this trivial would just, I think, ruin a little bit of the heart this movie has. And the movie does have a lot of heart. Now, lastly, I do want to talk about Moose and Midge, because I don't know what went on behind the scenes of this movie, okay? Because Moose and Midge, they have maybe the least to do in the film. They're always in the film. They're always part of the ensemble. And, they do have consistent, like, little comedic breaks in each scene. But they are nowhere in the marketing, okay? They're not any fruit poster. They didn't have their character photo shoots. They're nowhere. Even the last part of the movie, okay, last scene of the movie. No spoilers, but it's a little bit of a cast roll call. They're not a part of that either. What happened? Were they just not available or anything like that? I really hope there wasn't anything like behind the scenes that, I would have to worry about. But it was shocking that they just got no play, even though they're consistently throughout the movie and part of the gang. And I guess lastly, one last thing I want to talk about was the title of the Archies, okay? Now, even the Wikipedia page for this says that the Archies is based off of the fictional band known as the Archies. And I have to tell you, no, it is not. It is really not. The band, the Archies, is in the movie, yes. But only Jughead and Archie are a part of it. And then 2 other NPC random characters. That is all. And I thought, like, okay, the very first scene is the Archies practicing. And it's just Jughead and Archie and the 2 NPCs. Maybe at the end of the movie, the rest of their friends will join in or something like that. No, it never happens. At the end of the movie, it's still just Jughead and Archie and the 2 random guys. It is not about the band, the Archies, because that was a classic lineup of the friend group in the band. And they don't even have Sugar Sugar in here, which is a little bit strange, because there is one musical sequence that is a jukebox scene, where they play a real life song, and it's really fun, But the movie is not a jukebox musical, so just having one scene of that jukeboxy feel was a little bit awkward, especially since they don't have Sugar Sugar. I don't know, maybe it was a licensing thing, or maybe they just didn't, feel like it worked within the tone of the movie. That's a shame, because it's an iconic song and it's for the property. I think it would have really fit. It has the same kind of vibe the movie is going for. I don't want to talk about like the greater context of this film, because of course it is set in India, so a lot of the movie is about reasoning behind why this part of India, this town in India, is so 50s American suburbia style. They do come up with an explanation, and it is pretty wild, and I did think it was a little bit funny and goofy, but it fits the tone of the movie, and most importantly the tone of the franchise, so I totally went with it. And there is a little bit of a thorough line in the movie about like Archie and his friends, being too obsessed with Western heritage, Western culture, and not more about like their community, like there in India. So that was a great little thorough line. I wish there was something more done with that. I kind of felt like it was a little bit more lip servicey rather than fully fleshed out. But I'm glad they touched upon that, because it was something that you kind of think about during the intro when they're giving the backstory for Riverdale. Points for that. The movie itself doesn't really want to take everything too in-depth or too heavy. It wants to keep everything just kind of light and fluffy, and I think that's where it works best, and I think that's where Archie works best overall. So, overall, 2 thumbs up. I had a great time with this movie. Please watch it if you can, and let me know what you think below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Have you seen this? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you a fan of Archie, or are you just a fan of Indian musicals overall? And let me know. And thank you, and see you again next time.